Welcome back, everybody. We're kind of discussing some of the issues because I think we're discussing some of the issues related to the Orlando shooting and this last 10 minutes. I think we can focus on like the gun side of it, and then the second half hour we should definitely talk about the radicalization side of it, because what I've been really disappointed in is that the 2, 3, 4, however many sides you want. It is not a right-left thing. This particular situation is not a right-left thing. I mean, there are a lot of different camps out there that are yelling for attention. But what I think we can certainly address is, in the second half hour, is the motivation side, the intention side of this.
You bet.
Of this argument. So we're talking about like the ways to make guns safer, I guess, that's the only way to really talk about it. I mean, I don't know all the ins and outs, whatever technology it is, but what I do find interesting, what I would love to get your opinion on is, I mean, we subsidize everything else in this country, right? We subsidize oil companies, we subsidize ethanol, we give lavish tax breaks to big corporations so that people like GE pay effectively no tax; they get a refund back. We have
billion,
right? We have these huge non-profit. We have the NFL as a non-profit organization that makes a crap load of money, right? And it doesn't have to pay taxes, and the government just lets all that stuff go. We're talking about trying to balance the equities in a constitutional issue, the right to keep and bear arms. You would think, and this is something I know the guys on the left are going to hate me for suggesting. Why couldn't the federal government subsidize a little high-tech gun safety research? Why couldn't, and I know that the industry is going to be hard on that idea, because, well, hey, anything that makes the gun more expensive, you're going to have fewer gun sale, and you're going to have these old guns that are unsafe that are in the population. The government could step in and maybe subsidize the sale of the new, safer, smarter guns, issue a buyback for the older things, and over time maybe cycle out all like lead fueled cars in the 50s. We got rid of those off the road after a long period of time. And I wonder, does government have a role to play in helping industry create, if they're going to create them anyway, helping industry create a safer, reliable, more difficult to kill with gun? What do you think?
Well, the pie in the sky.
Sure.
It sounds good. Sounds good.
How do we do it?
But the problem really is when you're looking at sales of weapons overseas, the people that make these guns really release very few of them to the population. If you look at most of the gun sales, they are for conflicts overseas, for our allies, so they can kill their own citizens and the citizens of their surrounding countries. So if you make a mandate that if you sell a gun in the U.S., you have to have these safety features, that will be looked upon, at least from the right and gun enthusiasts, as a restriction of their rights.
How?
Because the gun manufacturer will no longer produce that gun with those things on it because it's not going to be profitable for them.
But that's why I said you can subsidize the sale of it. That's you help you. We do price controls all the time with all kinds of things. We pay farmers to not farm to keep the price of things.
Let me ask you this question.
Yeah.
And this is the argument that gun enthusiasts have. How many times has the government promised you something and then not delivered? Or twisted what it intended to do for something that, is bad.
I can't counter that argument because
No, I just answered the question. Have you been disappointed a lot in how the government operates? And therein lies your answer. How are you going to be able to trust the government to do the right thing with the power you give it? This is a basic fundamental argument from the right about everything. The more power you give the government, the less power you have. Now, do I think that we should be able to come up with some solution where, that gun is traced to your DNA and your DNA is the only one that can activate it? Yeah. I think that within the next 10 years, 20 years, we should be able to have that technology. I would be supportive of that, right? Keep guns out of the criminals' hands. That's what everybody wants. Everybody on the right wants it. Everybody on the left wants it. The problem is anything that you use that will incorporate modern technology is going to be subject to being hacked. Just like, you saw, have you ever seen the movie Kingsman? You see that movie? Samuel L. Jackson plays the bad guy. And he says, this is why I like a pad and paper, because nobody can hack this. That's the problem with a lot of this new modern technology is you got a bunch of crazy people out there, and I'm not saying Anonymous is crazy, but you have people with the talent that can hack through that system and make it inoperable. Nobody wants that, right? No, that doesn't help anybody. Lefty brought up in the last segment things that we can do. One of the things that happened when I was a kid, when my brothers were children, when my dad was a child, gun safety courses in schools. Take a BB gun. This is how you operate a gun. This is what it's for. This is why it's dangerous. This is why you need to respect it. And make people go through gun safety courses. Make that part of the curriculum. As part of the curriculum when I grew up, nobody in my school got their eye shot out. Everybody was very respectful. We all knew. In fact, it's the only time in gym that John Holland didn't screw around. Okay? John, if you're listening, you know it's true. So the bottom line is, let's reintroduce education. Lefties are always about education. Let's have sex education. Let's have Sarah has two mommies education. Let's have some gun education. That would be at least one step. I think you and I could agree on that.
At this point, you can't throw anything. You can't dismiss any idea, because we have a problem with mass casualty gun events. The murder rate has gone down. No, there's no argument there. The violent crime in this country has slowly been on a downward trend for a long time. Mass casualty gun events have gone up, and that's a problem that we are not addressing because we're fighting over specifics and we're arguing with each other about what the actual problem is. The problem is that lots of people are getting killed.
Well, let me throw this out. This is going to start a big argument, and he and I have already discussed this. But if everything's on the table, right before I came here, I was talking to my son. I was talking to him about, I ran into an interesting correlation. If you look at the number of mass shooting events in the U.S., there is a correlation, and I'm not saying causation, but there is a correlation between the introduction of gun-free zone legislation and mass shootings.
There is no such thing as gun-free zone legislation.
Yeah, but it was introduced back then, and then everybody started doing these gun-free zones everywhere. It started out in 1990s when it got passed. It's
the choice of every business. They say we don't want it.
And so the second thing I'm going to point out is social media and the penetration of the internet.
We'll get to that in the next one.
Right after this break. What a great segue. I'm going to pat myself on the back if I wasn't so fat. Anyway, thanks everybody for tuning in. We couldn't do what we do without you. When we get back, we're going to talk about radicalization and what we can do about it. Thanks everybody for tuning in. Be back after.